Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hygge with It. Today we're talking about the books that I would really like to get to this winter. Let's get into it. I'm so excited that it's winter. I don't know why. I don't love snow, on the ground, shoveling, any of that stuff. I've actually cried in the past while shoveling. Like this video if you've also cried while shoveling. Like a little princess. I have done that. But there is something to be said about cozying up by the fire, candles are going, tea or red wine is being consumed, and reading books. So I have quite a few books here that I really want to get to this winter. Most of them are historical fiction, but I do have a thriller in here because it felt very fitting. Moving right into it. The first book is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I know that this book is going to slap me across the face and just make me furious. I know that. I already feel furious just holding it in my hands. Because this is, I believe, based on a true story, and it is about how Black boys were treated in this school. So this follows Elwood Curtis. He is sentenced to a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy. And at this academy, Black boys were very much abused. They were abused physically, sexually. It was a terrifying environment to live in. And there were actually unmarked graves found at the school of Black boys that they just, I guess, buried. They died. I don't know how they died. And they just buried them, and it was like they didn't exist. It's just horrific. Colson Whitehead wrote The Underground Railroad, which, as you know, or maybe you don't know, but it won the Pulitzer Prize. Like, he's a very prolific writer, and I've never read him before. And I've just heard such good things about this, but I also know it's going to be really hard for me. I'm going to get really angry. But I really want to read this. So that is the first book that I would like to read this winter. Well, it might not be literally the first book I pick up for winter, but I'd like to get to it this winter. Here's the thriller. An Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. This is about a group of people who go to stay at this inn. The inn is called the Catskills and Mitchell's Inn, and it's nestled in the woods. It's like kind of the perfect getaway for winter. You can go snowshoeing and cross-country skiing, and it sounds like a lovely place to go, except the guests at this inn are basically snowed in. A blizzard comes through, and they're all trapped there. And people start dying. I think there's one guest in particular that dies, and they don't know really what to think of it because it does look like an accident, but then more people start dying. And this obviously reminds me of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. There's something about that. I recently read The Last that also had that kind of vibe to it, also in an inn. Anyway, I just want to read it. It just sounds like the perfect winter read because of the blizzard. So I might pick this up on a very snowy day, which is basically any day in Ottawa. So that is a book I'd like to read. I've also never read Sherry Lapina. I've heard mixed things about her writing, but that book, for some reason, seems interesting to me. Now we're moving back into historical fiction. Lots of that here. The next book that I would like to read is Day After Night by Anita Diamant. I always say her name wrong. Is it Diamante? Diamond? I don't know how to say her last name, but I really love her. I read, oh my goodness, what in the world was that called? She wrote The Red Tent, which I haven't read yet. It's on my shelves. Oh no. I will put in the description box or on the screen the book that I read by her that I loved so much. I even had it as like one of my favorite books a couple of years ago. Anyway, she's a great writer, and I have been meaning to pick up more of her stuff, and this just sounds amazing. It is based on the true story of the October 1945 rescue of more than 200 prisoners from the Atlit internment camp, a prison for illegal immigrants run by the British military near the Mediterranean coast south of Haifa. And it's told through the eyes of 4 women who survived this camp and also survived the Holocaust. So we have a Polish woman, a woman from Paris, a Dutch Jew, and a concentration camp survivor as well. And it is about friendship. And Anita Diamant writes female friendship so well. Like, so well. I want to be the character's friends most of the time when I'm reading her stuff, and this story just sounds fantastic. I am here for this, so this is a book that I'd really like to pick up as well this winter. Moving into Russian historical fiction, interestingly enough, I did this last year as well. In winter, for some reason, I want to read Russian historical fiction. Not classics, but Russian historical fiction. So there's The Secrets We Kept by Lara Prescott. This is about Sally and Irina, who are 2 secretaries for the CIA. They become spies, which I love that storyline. It's so much fun. I read transcription by Kate Atkinson a couple of years ago, and there's something about that that's just so much fun. Anywho, we also follow Olga, who is Boris Pasternak's mistress and muse. He wrote Dr. Zhivago, and it is about, I think, all of these people trying to smuggle out Dr. Zhivago out of Russia and to the States? I want to say the States. Anyway, and it's how they do that, because that's a true story, that it was smuggled out, because I guess they didn't want it to leave. Anyhow, I am super eager to read this. I have not read Dr. Zhivago, and someone said that I should watch, is it a miniseries or a movie with Keira Knightley? I'm trying to track that down, but so far I have not had any luck, because I know I should probably just read Dr. Zhivago before reading this, but I don't really want to read it. Maybe I will after I read this or after I watch the movie. I'm rambling. I would like to read The Secrets We Kept this winter. Also, I would like to read A Gentleman in Moscow, and this was on my winter TBR last year. So clearly I want to read it, and there's something about this that's like calling out to me over and over and over again. Anything by Amor Towles, again, I still haven't read this or The Rules of Civility. I want to read both. This follows a man in 1922. He's a count, and he is sentenced to house arrest at this enormous grand hotel called the Metropole, and it's across the street from the Kremlin. And he lives there. He lives at the very, very top of the hotel in this little attic room, and it's about his experience inside the hotel and the people that he meets inside. But at the same time, there is a revolution basically happening outside his doors. So I love this image of a man leaning over a balcony looking out, because I can't imagine what this would be like. It just sounds fantastic. I've heard only good things about Amor Towles, so I would really, really like to read this winter. or maybe next winter based on how well I'm doing with that goal. And then the last book I'd like to read is another Colson Whitehead. It's The Underground Railroad. Again, it won the Pulitzer Prize. And I know that this is a lot of Colson Whitehead in one season. But there's something about both of those books that are truly calling out to me. This follows a young woman who's enslaved on a cotton plantation in Georgia. Her name is Cora, and she runs away and she gets on the Underground Railroad. Now, in this book, he depicts the Underground Railroad as an actual train, like an actual railroad that people get on this train and flee for Canada. Obviously, it would have to be Canada. Anyway, and so I'm very curious to read this. I started reading a couple of pages, and I was sucked in right away. So that is the last book that I would like to read this winter. Let me know in the comments below what you are hoping to read this winter. If you do a TBR, do you do a seasonal TBR? And what is on your winter TBR? I'd love to know. And I will talk with you soon. Okay, bye guys.